Hello everyone, I am Matthew Thomas, the spirit of Super Cool Radio, and if you're looking for a great podcast that features the best independent and up-and-coming bands and artists, then check out my podcast, Super Cool Radio. Each week I deliver fun interviews, and every Friday I spin some killer music. You might not know some of these bands that I feature, but I guarantee you will love them. Check out Super Cool Radio on YouTube, Rumble, Anchor, Spotify, iTunes, or the streaming platform of your choice. Tune in and rock out.
Super Cool Radio.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Cognitive Discourse. On today's episode, I wanted to get a little serious with you band guys out there, you podcast creators, and just overall content creators. I was thinking about this the other day, and with this show in general, and with other things that I've been trying to build, it's always been at the core, any type of content creation that I do, at its core has always been about building a community. It's been community driven, and like with this show, I haven't really pushed it as much. I've said it in episodes, but like I've always wanted to kind of, promote bands and promote other content creators and try to have people come on the show and stuff like that. And to be honest, I don't really get a lot of emails for that type of stuff, which is fine. I still enjoy doing this by myself, and I plan on eventually, once I get a bigger place, I'd like to have guests come on this show, which, I'm going to start filming them. And so I'll have more, the content will change a little bit. The core of the show won't, but it definitely will be, you'll have something to visually watch, which I can push more on platforms like YouTube, like Rumble, where you can visually see something, and I can have guests come on. And I think I do a lot better when I have somebody else with me. That's been noticeable on just my numbers in general. With this show, any kind of time I have a guest on I haven't had many, but the few times that I've had guests on the show, those shows did really well. So shout out to my guests for promoting the show as well and getting their friends and family to check out the show and stuff like that. But at its core, like I said, I want to build a community, and it's always been a thing for me. And, I partnered with Nolan from Every Podcast I Love Is Dead. And we're doing a show together now called Basic Ass Dudes, which we're pushing heavily on YouTube. And it allowed me to really go towards video editing head first and learn how to video edit. And, again, just being that one-man operation. And Nolan is very knowledgeable as well. He helps out tremendously. He's an awesome we call each other co-hosts. So that show, there's times when I'm hosting, and then there's times when he's hosting, and we just basically each other's co-hosts. But, it's great to find somebody like that is willing to do a partnership and do a show together and again, try to build that community. And with that show, we really pushed the band stuff as far as, now I'm actively reaching out to bands, as he is too, to get bands on that show and featured, which we feature a track from a different band every episode, which is what we're planning on doing. And then it allows, him to also reach out to the same band and say, hey, we featured your song on, Basic Ass Dudes. Would you be willing to do an interview on Every Podcast I Love Is Dead? So we're trying to build that community. We're trying to keep people close. And I just listened to his newest episode here today that he just dropped. And it was another content creator, another dude who's also doing the same thing. He interviews bands and stuff. And, they had a conversation and they both talked about, community. It ultimately boiled down to community, building a community. And so I wanted to kind of do an episode where I talked about that, where, I've started to realize that there's two kinds of people in the content creation world. They're the people, there's one group of people who already see successful content creators and they want to be part of that circle, and they try everything in their power to become part of that circle. And they want to, a lot of times they're, there's a small percentage that maybe are successful at that, but for the most part, that circle is already, that community has already been built. Like, why? I don't understand those people. And now, mind you, I used to think like that too as well. I look up to content creators like Joe Rogan, Bobby Lee and Tiger Belly, the Fighter and the Kid, Bill Burr, the Monday Morning Pop. Bill Burr is one of my biggest influences on what I'm trying to accomplish, because I see all the crap that he's doing. Louis C.K. is another one, and the way they market themselves. But Bill Burr, for instance, has All Things Comedy on YouTube, and he's basically behind the scenes, the reason why we have a lot of those shows that are on that YouTube channel, a lot of the podcasts that are on that YouTube channel, like Two Bears, One Cave, the Bill Burt Show, or Burt Bill Show. I don't remember how but it's Bill Burr and Burt Kreischer. They've built that community. They have that community of comedians that, they all interchange with each other. They do each other's shows, and then they make shows themselves. And, there's that community there. And of course, all that community also is still tied to Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan, has the pull and has the reach. And I see that type of stuff, and I'm inspired. I fall into that second group of people, which take that as inspiration and say, I want to have a community like that. I don't necessarily want or need to be in that community, but I want to build a community like it. I want to have a structure like that. And so, that's what I'm trying to do with Nolan, with other podcasters, Behind the Behind. I've done a couple horror podcasts as well, and I try to keep in touch with all of those people. But like I said, we just try to stay tied to each other, let each other know what's going on, and try to get people involved who are willing to be in that community. And again, it's the same thing with bands. And I've definitely noticed this with bands. And again, there's this mentality of, when someone's trying to build something, some people don't want to be a part of the construction of said thing. They want to be a part of it after it's already been built. And that frustrates me. Not to the point where it ruins my day, but it definitely, I think in order to have a strong community, you have to have people who are willing to come in when the groundwork needs to be laid. And again, that's a big shout out to Nolan. That's one of the reasons why me and Nolan have become so tight, is because we share ideas, and we're willing to put in that work at the ground level to get to where we want to be. And at the end of the day, we want to take people with us. We want to share that with people. And that was, as I was listening to that episode, actually, what was the name of that episode? Let me pull that up for you real quick. But as I was listening to the episode, like, that was one of the, it was today's episode with Super Cool Radio. He did so look up, Every Podcast I Love Is Dead, and look up the newest episode is Super Cool Radio, or whenever you're listening to this, look up when he's talking to Super Cool Radio. That guy's was really cool, and they both, had the same idea as far as like building a community. And at the end of the day, like he was saying, he does the show he does the show because he wants to do it, but reaching out to these bands, he makes it about them. Like, that episode is about them, which is really cool. And there are some bands that I've run into where I've let them know what we're about, what we're trying to accomplish, and that it's also about them, trying to help them, with the little audience that we have. It's a give and take. We're exposing them to our audience, and they're exposing us to their audience. So we're able to grow that way. There is, a give and take on both sides. The problem with that is you get some bands that, because you're a smaller podcast, they want to ignore you. Or they're just, and it's not just bands. I think some content creators are that way too. They're just very self-serving. I think that's the word that the guy used on the podcast, and I think that fits really well. There's a lot of self-served individuals out there that just they don't want anything to do with the community. They're just about themselves, and it's I don't know if it's ego. I don't know if it's just they think that they're better than everything else that's out there, which, having that kind of competitive edge, I understand a little bit. To want to hold yourself at a high standard to make sure that you put out a great product is one thing, but to hold yourself so high that you think that you're better than everybody else and that you won't collab with anybody else, that says a lot about who that person is. And I tend to it's something that I don't speak about, and it's something that even now with you listen to it, be like, well, why are you? It sounds like I might be complaining or bitching about it, and that's not it. I just wanted to kind of highlight one of the things as a content creator that we run into. You are going to run into those type of people, but you can't let it get to you. Find people who are willing to help build a community. And again, this is more for people who think that they can just become part of a community that's already established. A lot of times those people are too busy, and I think that's where a lot of hate comes for some of those content creators too. Because again, like I said, there are people who are just self-serving, that don't want to help anybody else. They don't think they need help from anybody else, and that's fine. But there's other people who they just get kind of too big and their schedules are too crazy, but they're still willing to help. Super Cool Radio is a perfect example of that. That kid's on fire right now. He's doing he's booked all the way till December of 2021, and that's a good problem to have. But he's still willing to hey, I know I'm booked till this time, but season 3 is coming next year, and let's start trying to see if we can get something working for that. So he's got the right mindset, and I love that. He's trying to build a community, and he wants to stay on that community, and he doesn't want people to feel like he's forgotten about him. He's just super busy. But I've seen that in some bands too. Some bands are really into wanting to. Well, there's two kinds of bands too when it comes to being willing to be on a show. There's the ones that are they'll take the interview, they'll take the spotlight, they'll take the feature, but then they don't push it. That's also kind of frustrating. I know some podcasters that have that problem where they'll get a band or they'll get another content creator in with them, and they'll do the show. And again, the show's about that band. So you as the content creator, you as the host, yes, you're getting something out of it by hopefully the band sharing it with their audience. But there's some bands that just see it one-sided, or just content creators in general. Well, they'll come on your show, they'll do your show with the mindset of you're the host of the show, you're doing the interview, and then you're gonna do all the promoting. Which again, you're promoting to your audience, so they get the audience exposure from your crowd, but you're not getting their audience. It happens. Is it frustrating? Kind of, if you're a numbers guy. And again, with this podcast, I'm not a numbers guy. I don't really check the numbers. I check the numbers literally when I post an episode. I'll look at what my last episode did, and it doesn't really bother me because, again, this is just me in my room talking shit. So I'm not really too big on the numbers. I don't really push the show that hard. I do have fun though when I have interviews, and I've myself have been pretty lucky with, having guests on here and them doing a fairly decent amount of promotion to bring new listeners to my show. And then my job is to try to keep them entertained and keep them still coming back for more. I do have a pretty small but loyal listening base that check out my episodes on the regular. I am seeing consistency. although my numbers are not large, I still see consistency. So for those of you who come in week after week and you're listening to me just talking to a mic, I thank you. And that's what I want, regardless of how big the number is, how small the number is. The fact that I have loyal people coming back and continuing to listen, that means the world to me. I rather have 5 to 10 loyal fans than have 100, fans that just kind of come in and come out, and they're not loyal. So that's where I'm at with that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, again, it's not so much that I'm trying to become famous or anything like that. But I do want people to, if you're a content creator, understand that if you're trying to be part of a community or you're trying to build a community, it is a give and take. You have to be willing to give as much as you are getting. If you're going on people's shows, and that's one of the best ways to kind of grow, is to do what the podcasters are doing. And now with technology being as cool as it is, it makes it so much easier to reach out to people. Like I said, me and Nolan lives in Canada and I live in Texas, and we're doing a podcast together. We're doing a show together, and we just made it happen. If it wasn't for technology, we would never have thought in a million years to get together and do a show. There are creators out there who are willing to just be on your show and just have a good conversation. And ultimately, that's how I feel with this show. Even with Basic Ass Dudes, we're taking Basic Ass Dudes a little more serious than I take this show, as far as like trying to build an audience, really trying to push it. Like I said, we're doing videos, so we're really pushing YouTube. That's our main outlet for that show. I'm really taking it serious about, writing music for it, like all the jingles and all that stuff. Like, I'm writing all of that and recording all of it. I'm taking the editing super serious. We're taking the social media and the way we're marketing the show pretty seriously, as far as like how we go about trying to build an audience. And, I'm enjoying it. I really do enjoy that. And I probably pay attention to the numbers a little bit more with that show than I do with this show. But again, like, at the end of the day, I'm having fun doing it. And I have a lot of fun doing that show because, one, I'm doing it with a buddy of mine that I've grown to really look at like a brother. Really, I have a tendency to always kind of what's the word? Not leech, but gravitate towards someone. Throughout my entire life, I've always had somebody that was like my best friend, that we were inseparable. Shout out to my buddy Alan in middle school, my buddy Andrew throughout the late middle school, early high school days. My buddy Adam after high school. Me and him even had a podcast at one point. I always latch on, so to speak, to someone, and there's always somebody who I've always been that bromance kind of guy. And so like Nolan's my Canadian brother, man. Like, we get along, we have fun conversations. I am hard-headed and I am outspoken, and a lot of times I can say things that some people may not totally agree with, but at the end of the day, I'm a loyal friend, and I'm pretty easy to get along with for the most part. And because I'm an extrovert and I'm outgoing, it's easy for me to make friends. But I always end up finding myself latching on to somebody that I have respect for and I admire in some way. So Nolan, if you're listening to this, understand that's the kind of guy I am. And, I'm excited for this show. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm excited to push it. And because I have somebody else involved in the show, it takes it to that new level for me. Like, I want to do good. I want to have good numbers. Not only for myself, but again, because I feel like I have, another person relying on me to do well. And again, that's why, I want the editing to look professional. And, I like that to me is almost like a good stress. It keeps me motivated. It keeps me pushing forward. It keeps me humble. It keeps me on my toes, and it keeps me trying to be better than I was yesterday. I'm constantly pushing myself, and when I have somebody in my corner, it motivates me to do well. When I'm by myself, I tend to just kind of be like, well, I'll just do what I think is good, and my standards aren't super high when it's just me, but when I have somebody else kind of relying on a good product, then I tend to push myself more. And with Basic Ass Dudes, it's something refreshing for me. It's something new, and I think Nolan would agree for him as well. And so it's something that we can have fun doing and really take it as far as we can. And again, the topic of the show is Basic Ass Dudes. We do basic ass stuff. Reviews. We talk about movies, music, video games. We talk about nerd culture, pop culture. We talk about things that we like. And so I think just having that bro talk, that bro mentality, sitting together and just having fun. And we're brainstorming. We have a lot of little segments that we want to do and things. As the show progresses, it's going to kind of evolve, and we're going to have little segments that we do and little fun games and stuff like that we play on the show. So we want to keep it entertaining. And I feel like that's one of the things that I want to do with this show. Is that's why I want to have people more frequently on this show, because I think it's just better to have that dynamic. For those of you who have been listening from the start, I mean, we're almost 50 episodes in. And for you guys that are still continuously coming in and listening to just me by myself, I thank you. And, I totally appreciate you taking the time to tune in, not knowing what you're going to get, not knowing how long an episode's going to be. There's really no structure to this show. So Basic Ass Dudes has a little bit more of a structure. It's still kind of a free for all in a sense, but there's still a little bit more structure with that show versus this show. And sorry, my dog always wants to fucking drink water every time I do a damn episode. So yeah, just understand that things will change over time with this episode. As I grow, I am doing this on free time. I do take this seriously, but everything money wise that goes into this show, that goes into Basic Ass Dudes, that goes into my music, that goes into my brands, all that stuff is coming out of my own pocket. So it's a slow, steady pace. Eventually I hope that it will get to a point where it will financially pay for itself. But I'm going slow and steady. I'm playing the long game. And I appreciate everybody who listens. And understand that, like I said, I am about community. And if you're one of those people that's in a band, or you're a content creator, and you don't want to, and you look, if someone reaches out to you and wants to collab with you, and your first thought is how many followers this person has, then in my opinion, I think you're in the wrong field. It's good to have goals and aspirations to be something great, but I feel like on a podcast level, the podcast content creators, the podcast hosts that do the best and give out the best content are the ones that aren't looking at the numbers all the time, aren't looking to become rich and famous. Everybody would love to be Joe Rogan and have that Joe Rogan money and that Joe Rogan Spotify contract. But if we're being real about things, you got to do this because you love it. My goal, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, my goal is to just get just big enough to where I could financially do this full time. Right now, I'm doing this because my wife is at the helm, working and paying the bills. She's the one that basically told me, go ahead and do what you want to do, based off of the way I was busting my ass to take care of the family when she had our first kid. So again, like I've said this in previous episodes before, but I'm in huge debt to her, and I appreciate the fact that she's allowing me to do this. And then of course, we've even talked about me trying to go and maybe even just getting a part-time job. But with my mom, I have just I have my truck. My mom doesn't drive. My mom's up there in age, and her doctor's appointments are just getting insane now. So when I'm not doing podcasting or music or trying to get my t-shirt brands up and running, when I'm not doing the behind the scenes stuff, I'm literally taking my mom to the doctor all the time. So it'd be hard for me to get a full-time job, because doing this stuff allows me to be flexible enough to work around my mom's doctor's appointments. So trying to go in the days of clocking in and out of a 9 to 5, I'm hoping those are behind me from now on, and I can just keep focusing on doing this. But again, I never turned down an opportunity to be a guest on another podcast. I don't ever turn down an opportunity to work with a band if a band wants to work with me. I'm all about that. Again, I'm trying to build a community, and I want to be a jack of all trades. I want to be good at podcasting. I want to be good at editing. I want to be good at songwriting. I want to be good at mixing and mastering. I've even done music for Epiled. I've done intros and outros for him. I've done little 30-second music clips for him to use for background music. And he's a bro to me. So like I said, I've done all that stuff for free. Again, because I appreciated the fact that he was willing to use that stuff. Like, to me, that was awesome. Like, for him to be like, yeah, dude, if you write me some stuff, I'll use it on the show. Like, that means everything to me. And, all I asked from him was like, hey, just give me credit, which he's done. That type of stuff is awesome. But it's also because I know where I stand right now, as far as I'm still in the learning process. So for me, it was like, I didn't feel right charging him for something that I'm still learning how to do, if that makes any sense. Because again, like, I'm not doing this stuff at the end of the day to become super wealthy. If I do, then great. And that's kind of how I feel about monetizing this particular podcast and doing, ads and stuff like that. If you guys ever hear an ad come up on this show, I want you to understand that ad was because it's a product that I actually use. I'm not just going to take any product because they're throwing money at me. I do have integrity, and I continue, and I want to continue that integrity. No matter where this show, or no matter where Basic has to, no matter where I go, wherever that may be. I want you guys to understand that I'm not going to take the success. I'm not going to let it go to my head. Let's put it that way. If I do ever become successful. But what I can say is that, what I can say with the utmost confidence, is that no matter where I end up 5-10 years from now with this, whatever this is, I will always be who I am, as far as being willing to talk to anybody and everybody. If you want to be a guest on this show, like I said, you can reach out to me. If you have topics you want to cover, if you're in a band and you want me to share your music, I'm all about that stuff. If you want me on your show, I'm all about it. I'm willing to do that type of stuff. I'll never see myself above anybody. I have a nice big humble pie, and I make sure to take a bite out of that humble pie every single day, and to stay that way. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like, if you're in a band, if you're a content creator and you don't want to do certain things, or you're blowing off certain people because they're not big enough, understand that could always come back and bite you in the ass. Because that same content creator that you said no to, 5 years down the line may become that content creator that you're begging to be on their show. So again, humble yourself. Always take opportunities when they arise. And a lot of times, yes, you want to take opportunities that are going to benefit you. But sometimes it's just cool to surround yourself around like-minded people, regardless of their numbers, regardless how big or small they are as a content creator. Just, find like-minded people and run with it. You'll be surprised, man. You'll be surprised how the outcome will turn out. I've met a lot of cool people in the short time that I've been doing this, and I'll say, like, they've all been super awesome, and I there's a few out there that I haven't stayed in touch with, and it's nothing personal. It's just I got we all got things going on, but at the end of the day, I never will shun anybody. I'll never give them the cold shoulder. We're all eating the shit sandwich, and we're all in the same boat, trying to get to the same dry land, to the paradise, so to speak. But yeah, man, this episode's running a little bit long, so I'll go ahead and end it there. I didn't really have much to say. I didn't have really much prepared. I just kind of wanted to talk about, humbleness, I guess. And then, also share that I'm excited about the new show that's coming out. I'm not sure when this episode's going to drop, but I'll probably drop it soon. But just know that next week, I'm recording this a week before Basic Ass Dudes drops. So I'm recording this in the last week of July. But the first week of August, Basic Ass Dudes will be premiering. So I might try to drop this episode tomorrow. I'm recording this on a Thursday, so I might just go ahead and drop this tomorrow, so it lines up with when Basic Ass Dudes drops. But look out for Basic Ass Dudes on the first week of August. I believe we're doing that Monday. We'll be dropping that show. Just go to YouTube and type in Basic Ass Dudes, and you can set a reminder for when that show actually does drop. I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes and how people respond to that show. Our first episode is actually going to be about zombie movies, so that's exciting. We do our top 3. I have my top 3, and Nolan has his top 3, and we went into the show not knowing each other's top 3, so it was a surprise to us as well as we were revealing our favorites. So definitely check that out. If you haven't seen the trailer yet, go to again, type in Basic Ass Dudes, go to YouTube and check out that trailer. And as always, all the links will be down in the description. If you have anything that you want to send this show, send me. You want to write me a letter, you want me to share something on the show, if you're in a band, you want some music that you want me to share, anything like that, send it my way, and we'll be sure to get it on the show. Like I said, Basic Ass Dudes is also doing that type of stuff. So if you're in a band and you want to be featured on that show, like I said, go to the YouTube, check it out. All the information will be there as far as how you can get a hold of us. We also have an Instagram. On the Instagram, you can find our Linktree link, which will take you to all social media platforms that we're on. So you can go ahead and reach us there, have our email address and all that stuff on there as well. But if you want to contact this show, you want to be a guest on the show, or you just have something to say, you just want to talk shit to me, and you want me to read it on air, send it to cognitivediscoursepodcast@gmail.com. That's cognitivediscoursepodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow the Facebook group. Check out our Instagram. I'm going to try to be a little more active on that Instagram now that I'm being active with Basic Ass Dudes on Instagram. I'll try to be a little more active on Cognitive Discourse. I'm just trying to find out what pictures to post on there. So lately I've just been kind of posting my toy collections of my Marvel characters and some of my other my Squirtle stuff. Like I'm a man that collects a lot of different things. So if you want to check out my collections, they will be on my Cognitive Discourse Instagram, so follow that. And like I said, all the links will be down in the description. Other than that, you guys have a great Friday. Enjoy your weekend. And as always, stay safe. And until next time.